Hi everyone, I'm Amelia. I work with EVCOM, and welcome to our second Skillshare of day 3 of the big Skillshare project, which is EVCOM's community Skillshare initiative. So really excited to be here. Today we're going to be speaking to Dan Walker from Ashfield Meetings and Events, and he's going to be talking to us about focused outcomes and how to think inside the box when coming up with ideas. So I'm just going to add him to the call there. So just a little bit about Dan. He is the head of live events at Ashfield Meetings and Events and also at Spark Thinking, where he's responsible for the live events team, including the content, communications and production departments, with a clear focus on audience engagement strategies, innovation, technology and group activities, plus any other unique and inspiring solutions that an event may benefit from. So welcome, Dan. Hi.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Good stuff.
Just introducing you and saying all the wonderful things in your bio.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. I was hoping you wouldn't see me fumbling around with my phone whilst I was trying to work out to connect properly.
We're all learning. I feel like I finally understand Instagram after the end of this week, being online all week. But yeah, so you're going to be talking to us today a bit about thinking inside the box or understanding the inside of the box. So I've got a couple of questions for you on the subject. We hear a lot
Great.
about thinking outside the box when it comes to ideas. But what exactly do you mean when you say sort of understanding inside the box, and why is it so important?
Um, oh, so you're right. You said there we hear a lot about thinking about outside the box, but I think it's about, for us, it's a little bit about defining what the box is. And you hear all sorts of questions. You know, we want never seen before. We want blue sky thinking. We want, we want to be wowed. It's like we absolutely want to provide those things for you. But in order to be able to do that, I think we really need to understand what you're trying to achieve and really define what the outcomes are intended to be, and what that purpose is, in order to then do the blue sky stuff, but still have a central point where you want to come back to. And I think if you have that consistency, it allows you kind of a clarity of purpose. And even more so in a remote-based environment, I think people need to know the parameters in which they're working to, and also that the framework in which they can expand out of or work within, because we're not all sat around a table, and Zoom calls and web conferencing is fantastic, but you do need that headspace and time to take yourself away to apply that level of creativity, and having a sensible reference point to make sure that you're meeting a brief and you're meeting, most importantly, the needs of the audience. I think it's really important, because it's so easy to become distracted by the big ideas. We've all been in brainstorming meetings around a table, and we're having a whole load of fun with a project or a concept, and the adrenaline's going, and before you know it, you've run away with yourself. And that's all part of the fun of being in events, isn't it? Like that the excitement of a new brief or a new project. And I think Richard said on one of your skills sessions earlier in the week that, which is fantastic for anyone who's not watched it, by the way, the Richard Holman session, you can't be creative and evaluate at the same time. So you have to go out and express, and it doesn't matter how many ideas you come up with, but it's being able to evaluate that and critique it, which is important. And I think that's the bit where the box comes in, the ability to go back to, critiquing effectively, making sure your idea is a good idea, because a great idea can be lost on the wrong project, and you wouldn't want to waste a great idea.
Completely. Well, I'm sold on it. But how do we go about doing that kind of thinking inside the box, addressing that?
Well, I think so. For us, this was just before lockdown. We were sat down evaluating some of our projects, and why some ideas completely smashed it out of the park, and then other ideas that we thought were brilliant, just didn't land. I mean, you can't always be successful with your ideas. So we started to unpick that, and then started, I suppose, to look a little bit at the methodology around, okay, well, how do we evaluate this? So it came down to kind of two things, really. There's that kind of the external factors, kind of what's outside the box, and then also, what we would class as inside. So the bits that we would say, or I would say, are outside, is you've got your audience. And so the layer of what you want people to be able to think, what you want them to be able to feel, really, and ultimately what you're going to do. So what do your audience know? What do they, what's their current reference point, and also what do you know that they want to experience? So we need to be clear that we're going to meet their needs. There's got to be a level of intent there as well. What do you want the audience to understand, and then therefore how you're positioning, be the idea or the campaign or the event. There has to be some level of action. I think we all want the work that we do to create an emotional connection. That's part of what we do. But then how will that individual share that experience, and what will they then do differently? Are we going to change their mindset? If it's not a mindset change, is it just a case of, actually getting them to understand something a little bit more and how it's personal to them and what they will then do? And I think, and then there's fulfillment as well. That we want to make people feel that they have a sense of achievement, that the time's been well spent, be that on a webinar for 30 minutes, or be that at a conference. You want to give somebody something back, and a sense that they've received something that was worthwhile, be emotionally or physically. So that's kind of outside, and then all the nuts and bolts of what's inside helps us actually develop the idea. So, what is the client's value proposition? What environment are we working in? What level of technical production will there be? What does interactivity look like for this particular project? Where's the content coming from? And what is that content? And the creative strategy that sits around it. So all those things that allow us to be able to focus on a reference point. So what elements are important to the project? Because every project, be it a 3-month campaign or a 3-hour meeting, they'll all have a different things. And obviously, looking at what we're doing now with online, the technical production piece is really, really important, as is purpose. And I think you want to come to that a little bit later on as well. So which areas require greater focus than others? Trying not to get too sidetracked by budget, but always being kind of cognizant that it's there as well. I think a little bit how our past experiences can help inform our decisions. So have we been involved in this project before? And what have we learned? If we haven't, what can we learn? What can we gather? What information can we gather to understand, to put ourselves in the best possible position to be able to put ourselves in that person's shoes who's going to be enjoying the experience? And then what do we know about the environment? Is it a built environment or is it not? So can we create it? Can we evolve it? Can we adapt it? Are we limited by it? How does that allow us to kind of, as a starting point? And then, what does collaboration look like? And what does interactivity look like? Because they're two words that get mentioned, I suppose, on nearly every project that we work in this industry, but it means different things to different people. So again, just understanding that, what that means to the client or the individual or the whole entire group, and working back to that. And I think it just gives us, allows us to form a strategy. I think, creativity is about lots of ideas, but I think it needs to also be wrapped in with, that level of purpose and strategic thinking about how you approach it in the first place to help make it, I suppose, actionable and effective.
Yeah, fantastic. You just mentioned creativity there, actually. So I wondered how this method of really focused thinking actually can be used to support creativity and to support creative ideas.
Well, I think, I'm not sure who said it, but I think it was kind of, creativity is a wild mind and a disciplined eye. And I think it goes back to the piece that Richard mentioned about the evaluation. You need to be able to have some kind of reference points and to make sure that you're not going off piste. And if you are, that's completely fine. It might be totally fine to run away with an idea and then realize that it's better than the one that you had. But is it still relevant? There has to be a level of relevance to the work that you do, to the brief that you're working with. And I think probably some people listening might be thinking, well, that's far too narrow in the focus. Others may agree, but it seems to be, what works for me. Maybe it's just the way that my brain works as well.
No, fantastic. And obviously we're in a very strange time at the moment. So how can we apply that thinking and this inside the box method to working within the conditions of COVID-19? Do you have any advice there?
Yeah, I think so. As most events professionals at the moment, we are working in a virtual environment. So we've either pivoted from a live event to a virtual experience, or we're now looking at developing virtual campaigns and virtual strategies for our customers. The piece that we really want to focus on, 2 areas that we keep focusing on with our clients at this time, is don't forget the purpose and make sure that the content is and how your content is going to connect. Because it's very, very easy that people get carried away with the platform and the technical production. And for the first 4 weeks of COVID-19, I think I forgot how many times I got asked, well, what platform are we using? How are we going to do it? What's the technology? And that's because people felt nervous around it. The platform should be the conduit to the content. And I think, work with your agency and rely and trust on your agency to find the platform that's best suited to the needs. That's your box, so it works there. And then focus your time on why are you doing this? And actually, what do you want people to do when they're on that session? And working with, how can we shape it unique to the experience? Because it's not the same. I mean, we'd be lying if we all said you can just do exactly what you did virtually in a physical environment. It is different, but make sure that the differences can become benefits as well. Use the data, use the pre-event engagement, use the time to allow people to consume it on demand at a time that's relevant to them. Use all that stuff to your advantage. Don't be constrained by it. So I suppose it's still relevant. We might not be necessarily looking at, huge built environments, and they may be virtual environments, but the interactivity element is still really important as well. I suppose you can overdo the interactivity, you can distract, and I think that's again where, as events agencies and live communications professionals, that we should be helping our clients navigate through what's the right balance of interactivity, content, and also platform choice.
Completely. Well, thank you so much. I feel like I personally learned a lot, and so I'm sure everyone listening did as well. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us. We've got one more session today, which is with the lovely Katie Moorhen from 5283 PR, who's going to be talking to us about how to get the press interested in events, sort of pre-event, during and afterwards as well. So yeah, until then, thank you so much again, Dan, and thank you to everyone who
yeah, you're welcome. Any of you watching, the on-demand stuff's there on the EVCOM website. Watch it, guys. It's fantastic. I've really enjoyed it. So there's your free plug as well, Amelia. But it's all worthwhile. All right, well, it's lovely talking to you. Hope you take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.